My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
As a dad, every day is a challenge.
To make sure that the time that I have, I spend with them.
It doesn't matter how tired you are,
You have to try and to teach them.
when they learn something new and you can just see in their faces. It's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to the show. My name is OGTEE, and today I'm here with Maria Otero, and we're going to discuss some issues that have been going on for decades as far as wrong incarceration on some inmates that were actually innocent before they were proven guilty and did a lot of time, okay, and were finally acquitted and found innocent. Here with Maria Otero today, her father was one of those incarcerated inmates. And Maria, we want to know, how did it feel to know, first of all, that your father was being arrested and the whole process that you endured and your family endured throughout the course of this situation?
Well, when I found out about my father's case, it was in 2017. He already had been in prison since 1982. So when I found out about the court case, I had not seen my father for 36 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So what toll did that bring on the family? What mental and physical aspects did it cause? Like, did the family start feuding against each other? Some saying he was guilty, some saying he wasn't. What transpired throughout this whole ordeal?
When I found the court documents on Google, when I decided to look for my father, I saw court documents. At that time, I already was like 4 years interested in the wrongful convictions. I had seen a lot of cases, 2020 and Dayline. When my father finally decided to call me, it was 41 years of not knowing where he was.
So how did you find out where he was and what transpired? What was he charged with to begin with?
My father was charged for arson. He was convicted for 8 deaths. 5 of them were children.
Wow.
They were burned to death.
Wow.
And he did 32 out of the 8 life terms that he had to.
And how did you feel about the judicial system during that time? I mean, it was a lot different. We didn't have the technology we do now. And knowing that, pretty sure all your family knew that he was innocent. Okay. How difficult was it to get through that? You know, to the judicial system believing in it?
When he came to the United States, he was 12 years old. He was stubborn. He did not want to learn English. He moved to Lowell, Massachusetts, where he was wrongfully convicted. He had been there for 2 years. He already had a girlfriend and her kids that he was raising. At the time of the incident where the fire, he happened to be in the location. How did that impact his girlfriend at that time? She was actually burying her mother.
Wow.
In Puerto Rico. And she sees newspapers of my father being arrested.
And where did this arson take place? In New York City?
Massachusetts.
In Boston?
Yes, Massachusetts.
Okay. So how many years did he do?
He did 32.
And how did it come about for him to be exonerated after so many years?
He had to wait.
You know, attorneys and fees. What was the hardships on that?
My father was 24 years old, 130 pounds when he went into prison. He had to do life. He was with the lifers. He was in there for death. They killed somebody, you know?
Yeah.
In the prison, it's not about you being innocent. or guilty, because everybody there's innocent.
Until proven guilty.
Right?
Yes.
That's what the system says, but I'll fine. So it was difficult to be at that stature, 24 years old, 130 pounds, thrown in prison. I believe his first experience was baby killer.
So he was considered a baby killer, arsonist.
Yes.
Meanwhile, he was innocent all the time.
Two of his friends also. Cause
They were also convicted?
They were also convicted. They were let go.
Before him or?
Before him.
You know, how many years did they do?
15 years in order for him to even appeal anything. He had to do 15 years before he had to do with the court system.
That's incredible. Like, what's going on with the system? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I go to the...
Not even knowing whether you're guilty or innocent, and here you are waiting 15 years just to be able to speak about it.
Oh,
like, how do you mentally deal with something like that?
Yes.
Like, that's tough.
When I started my investigation, because I just couldn't believe it when I read the documents, I had not seen my father since I was 5 years old. I decide my stubbornness to step aside and look for my father, see what happened. I waited for the phone call patiently.
And did it come?
It did come. He did call me.
Oh.
And I waited and I asked him, like, what happened? Like, even though I already had read the documents of the case, he was already out. My father started a ministry inside the prison. He is a pastor.
Oh, so he did something for his time there. I mean, he valued certain things and used his time, utilized the time, usefully to become a pastor. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's so.
Wow, that's interesting. And how long has he been a pastor?
He started at 24 when he went in. He already had made the decision to turn into Christianity. And he said when the judge said he was guilty, he couldn't believe it.
We're going to take a quick break. This is OGTEE. We're going to go into a commercial break real quick. And we don't want you to go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's OGTEE, Maria Otero, Wrongful Incarcerations.
I know you've been grinding. I know things aren't easy. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Love your mind.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
No way.
No way. No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org.
Welcome back. Again, I'm your host, OGTEE, here with Maria Otero, and we're going to continue with the wrongful incarceration issues that we have in America and actually throughout the world. So, as you were saying, Maria, while your father was there, he took the time to research his case and to become knowledgeable. Also, like you were saying, he also schooled himself and took courses in becoming a pastor. How do you feel about, him, progressing and doing what he had to do, being in a state and incarceration at that time? What do you see your father as?
Love. Still to this day, my father believes that he needs to go to the prisons and visit the inmates. It don't matter where. Right now, he's actively working in Puerto Rico. Went to the prisons, and he felt like he was in a hotel in Massachusetts.
well, when you come from a 6x6 or whatever the size of cells, they decide to put you in, it does feel like you're in heaven when you get out of there, But so what would he say to other people who are going through the same situation of family members being wrongfully incarcerated? What advice would you believe he would give or you would give as far as keeping faith, you understand, trying to obtain good attorneys? How do you perceive that he went about to get himself out of there?
His first barrier was not knowing English, so that's one thing he had to learn. He said he learned it while he was in a psych ward. He was there for 7 years, sedated. He don't remember. He didn't remember a lot of things due to so many drugs in the psych ward. He didn't want to accept the guilty.
How about you personally? Did what did this incarceration change about you, and how did it make you a stronger person? Did it bring you into more spiritual faith? What did it do for you personally, that you could put out there so others that are going through the same situations can feed off of and try to release a little stress from, their issues, from the issues you were experiencing?
When I think about a person getting arrested, and even in the truth, you still have other people's opinion. At the time, I asked his lawyer, I don't know how, if I say the truth, I'm guilty.
I know what you're saying.
I say, being raised in the 80s, I was born in the late 70s, and I was raised in the 80s. I saw a lot of movies that were prison.
Yeah, the 70s were tough. I grew up in the 70s era. It was a great era, believe it or not. But
it was mass incarceration.
It was mass incarceration.
Yes,
you were profiled, okay, and it wasn't like now where they hold a lot of investigations, and when you get arrested, when you're interviewed, you understand you have opportunities for an attorney. You keep your mouth shut. Like it didn't seem that way back then. Back then to me it seemed like if you got arrested and somebody pointed the finger, you were the person. You understand? You didn't go through the interrogations. You understand? It's like they wanted to fulfill, just arresting someone and doing what they had to do, not really knowing if this person that they actually arrested was guilty. You understand? It was a lot of wrongful, arrests during that time. So how did your family also deal with that?
My mother did not know that he was in prison. She was 6 months pregnant, and then I saw him 3 times in my life, and the last time I saw him was 5. So for us, it was, we don't know where he's at.
Wow. That's so interesting. And that's such a hardship. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're going to take a quick break. I'm OGTEE, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you very much.
We are taught you don't talk about your problems with nobody because you could get in trouble. And I've been through a lot. Anxiety, depression, sexual assault. When I decided to get help, my life changed. And the mental health box, that was one of the big tools. Accepting help means that we're allowing somebody to bless our life. It's freeing. We got stronger together. Love your mind.
Welcome back. I'm your host, OGTEE. Welcome to the show, Maria, once again. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing great, especially, being at on the show and discussing the topic about this wrongful incarceration, because there's so many families out there experiencing the same, issues. And how was the relationship with you and your dad finding out what happened, and how did you feel about?
When he finally called me after 36 years, I don't know how or why, but I already knew he was going to call me one day. And he called. He left a voicemail. In the voicemail, he says, my name is Victor Rosario. I'm your mother's friend. I would like to talk to her. On Facebook, he had my mother's picture on a Most Wanted.
America's Most Wanted. But was America Most Wanted for, as far as your mom, or America's Most Wanted because of him?
Thank God he didn't put America Most Wanted, but he put Most Wanted Woman.
Okay. But at least, that shows that there was still some type of, relationship where, they put I guess a little humor into it. But was he with your mother when he was incarcerated?
No, he was with, at that time when he got incarcerated, he was with a girlfriend who had her kids. So besides me, he has 3 boys.
Oh, okay. So
Men, though.
So did your mother inform you about this?
She didn't know anything.
She didn't know anything.
Anything.
How long did it take before she found out?
Oh, it took the same amount of time when it took me.
37 years?
36 years.
Wow.
He did 32. The crazy thing is that the address where it happened was 3236 Decatur in Lower Massachusetts. And I'm like 32 years of his time, 36 years of my time. You can't make these numbers up.
So you weren't able to visit him? Did you ever go and pay him a visit before he was cut loose, so to speak?
No, I didn't get to visit him. I did get to travel with him and go to the network and see other cases. There's still people wrongfully convicted.
What, through via
the Innocence Network.
Okay.
They have conference once a year, and they add the new ones. You know, the time that I went, I think it was up to 3,000 years altogether of these prisoners have made if they put it all together. I believe it was 100 on stage.
Of wrongfully accused. Of wrongfully accused inmates.
Wrongfully convicted. It says.
So when you started to communicate with your dad, you know, how long before you built that relationship where you finally figured, you know, I do feel that my dad was not guilty? So, like, I don't think it came right away, did it?
I had to do my own investigation. I saw newspapers.
So what type of research besides newspapers did you view other cases? Were you looking for good attorneys?
Oh yeah, it was. I think the first attorney that he paid for, she decided that he was guilty, and she just walked out with the money and didn't come back.
Wow.
Oh yes, sorry, lady, but you did wrong.
Well, you know, I know that happens because I didn't have a case to where I was being incarcerated, but I had a case against a company, and the attorney did the same thing to me. After 17 grand later, I get a big box in the mail. It's my whole case. He was taken out by the board or whatever the case may be, you know, from the attorneys. He was dismissed. So I never got to, you know, fulfill that case. But, you know, what would you tell viewers out there of what they can do to help one of their family members or friend that they feel have been wrongfully incarcerated? What steps would you give them to start taking to try to get this person released?
For my father, when he paid that lawyer, the assistant went to school, and it took 10 years.
Wow.
For her to finish her.
And she was the one representing your dad?
Oh, she helped him a lot.
So at the same token, she just basically jumped into this and started doing research and studying and took up courses?
Yes. 10 years.
So did she become an attorney?
Yes, she did. She was already an attorney, but she wasn't the attorney. She was working for the attorney. She was the assistant. She told my father, she's taking your money. She ain't doing nothing. So my father said, go to school.
So she started as a paralegal?
Yes.
And continued on?
No, I think
so in other words, not to cut you, was that something that your dad inspired into that person?
Yes.
To, you know?
Yes, they became very close friends.
Oh, that's great. That's interesting how one bad thing can turn so many things around and to make them productive and good.
My father married his teacher and
so you must be proud of your dad, right? Married his teacher, his attorney?
Yes, he married the teacher.
Interesting.
His English teacher. He wanted the things that we wanted on the outside. He wanted a wife, a house, and a vehicle.
And that works.
I couldn't believe it, but he did one.
And that works. And we're going to take another commercial break. This is OGTEE. We'll be right back. Interesting out here. Stay with us. Thank you. Hello once again. This is your host OGTEE, and we're back here with Maria and Otero. And Maria, what we wanted to know is what organizations did you look into to help your dad and those, you know, to get your dad out of jail? Was there certain organizations, certain companies? What type of people did you speak to?
Well, I have a website. It's called poppysbusinesses.com. This is more of mental awareness. Is a lot of wrongful convictions. A lot of these men or women separate from their children. Also, the Innocence Network has this conference once a year.
Okay.
It's to get together. They give classes for law. You meet men and women that have been, I think the most I heard was 59 years.
Wow.
I heard a case of a 16-year-old who did 39.
And all wrongful incarcerations.
Yes, they're angry.
Wow.
They're very angry.
So, is there any other organizations out there? Is there support groups that help without charging? Do you have attorneys out there? Do you know about?
Here in, let me see, they have the moth.com. I believe that is where they write stories. They help you put the story together to help the family members that don't understand the system.
Okay, okay.
I believe my father founded the exonerated.com.
Okay.
For the ones that are coming out after so many years and don't know the system out here. There's a lot going on out here when you're... he started that. He founded that, exonerated.com.
So those are organizations that he started while he was incarcerated or when he got out?
When he got out. When he got out, he was determined to have transportation to make sure, because when he came out, to get his ID was, oh my God, crazy.
Yeah, because normally when you come out of there, you have no paperwork.
And not only that, they don't know
It's
they
like
can
you
file
gotta,
taxes.
yeah, it's
they
like
don't
you
know
gotta
they
be.
can file taxes.
Look
So
at
they're
that.
like 42 years without taxes. Who are you? Where you been?
So where would they get all this information? Someone who's just getting out, who experienced the same situation, would they go to the city for all this information? What places would they need to go?
Well, the attorneys that are defending the case, especially when the Innocence Network get involved, when they see that there's a lot of inconsistencies for the guilty trip. With my father, they had to debunk the science. The investigator believed that it was Molotov cocktail that he had threw into the house, whether it was a radiator.
Wow. So when we talk about coming back out, what is the process that they have to go through?
Well, he was on a bond. He had to wear his monitor on his ankle.
Oh, so he had an ankle bracelet.
He had an ankle bracelet. My father joined the marathon here in New York in 2016. The monitor went off and he wasn't able to finish.
Wow. So what's the first step of when he got out? Where did he have to go first to get everything started? Identification, so forth and so on, get back into reality, so to speak.
When he came out, he already had a job.
Nice.
He was pastor for a church, so he wanted to go to two places, the bank and church.
So was he assisted in obtaining a job before he got out?
He married the teacher and she assisted. His wife was working in the system. She was a teacher in the prison.
Do you know if they have any organizations that assist you when you first come out?
Yes, they do. The church is really, really attuned. These men, they know the church. They pastors. They get together. They wait for you to come out, case by case.
That's great.
Yes, they wait for each other.
Yeah, that's great, and that's influential because you definitely something to look up to and forward to.
In Massachusetts, it was 9 of them. And they grouped together. They started the Exonerated. And once we go to the conference, you get to meet other people from other states because we go state to state.
What would you tell someone? We're going to be closing the show. What would you tell someone who's experienced the same experiences of how to stay strong and deal with this?
It's very traumatizing. My father still, he missed the keys, the sound of the keys in the cell gate. As he said, his didn't close because he was there to give love to all his inmates, no matter who you were.
Right. So is he going to therapy to help him
Yeah.
deal with all these situations of being incarcerated so long that even you being out, you still feel you're incarcerated mentally?
Yes. When he came out, he was with his wife. It was not easy. He still needed the system. The 16-year-old that did 39 years, I made a phone call. He didn't know how long to stay in the shower. He
Wow.
was still
Yeah, he was still
he was 16 when he went
how
in.
would we call that? There's a
Condition.
certain term that they use. We're going to be closing the show, so what's your social media platform that you want to put out there that others can look at and go and see the experience you have besides the holistic help that you also got from your friend Maria? You can speak about that also.
Yes, I have a friend named Maria. She has a holistic golden health. She is located in Queens. Her social media will be holisticgoldenhealth@gmail.com. Very, very intelligent woman. She has helped me to process information and build my emotions versus judgment.
There you go. I mean, you can't get any better than that. So what's your email or what's your platform? Put it out there so
Okay.
others can,
So I started a website. It's poppysbusinesses.com. My email is stayoutmybusinessmaria@gmail.com.
Hey, I like that. Stay out my business, but you need to look into my business in order to in order to get good references.
Email me, anyone, children, father, mother, whoever it is that needs some help. I am willing to assist
Yeah.
in any way I can.
Yes. Yes, we want to thank you all for viewing today. I'm your host, OGTEE, and Maria Otero. It was definitely a pleasure. I hope we can inspire some viewers out there that you're not alone and that there is help out there. And if you feel that any one of your family members is incarcerated, is wrongfully incarcerated, look into these websites, look into our websites, and we're here to assist. We thank you. God bless and have a great day. Host OGTEE.
Thank you.
This is Peter. I speak to you. Hopefully my message can reach to you. I know how it is out there, how tough times might be, how hard things are, the struggles, the ability to inspire, but then not achieve. But look what we have. We have the goal. And not to pop the shirt like I would pop a collar, but just saying we got the goal. Therefore, you can achieve. You can move. You can be. And I'm here as a producer, the INFOPETE. That's INFOPETE. So let me bring it back to Peter. I want to put a little message for everybody listening. Whatever you're thinking, I'm here. Humble, my heart open, so you all can listen, so you all can understand the importance of just me feeling nervous, embarrassed, thinking, wow, I'm going to mess up. But there we go, messing up. What happens when we mess up? We heal. Take the time to heal. Take whatever it is, whether it's introspection, whether it's shadow work, or whatever you see, self-help. Take the time to heal. And then what happens after you heal? Well, there you go. You feel rested. But that's another word I'm going to use later down the line. But let's bring it back to heal. Then you grow. Then you make the mistakes so you can learn. But then you grow. And then those who are listening and watching your friends as they grow and they fumble, then you help them so they don't tumble nor fumble, and they get up and they continue to grow. And then what happens after you grow? Some people, they internalize capitalism. And what happens when you internalize capitalism? You work, and you think money's the pathway to happiness, but it may not be for all. So then you rest. So there we go. We healed, we grew, and now we rest. So what's left? What's left? I told you a little bit nervous here putting out the message of after us resting, then we move. And we move. and we move and we network. And we don't talk about relationships just in the terms of touchy-feely, kissy, and all that. We talk about human relationships. How do I relate to you? What is it that you're saying that I can listen to and not only hear? And then as we're doing all that, the list I get as you was checking off the boxes saying whether I do that or not, I leave it with this: breathe.